When I first started planning this trip to Iceland and I found out how expensive it was, I almost didn't go. Like for real, I almost didn't go. But if I would have let that stop me, I would have missed out on one of the most otherworldly places I've ever experienced on this planet. So if you are dreaming of Iceland and you want to know how to make it work on a real budget, stay tuned. In this video, I am going to go over how we made it work realistically. Everything from lodging to flights to excursion, the whole nine. So stay tuned and let's get started. What is up, everybody? It is your girl, Kim White, aka Lerato, and welcome back to Daughters Who Roam. Let's get into the skinny about this budget on Iceland, okay? So the way that I want to break this video up for you is by starting with travel. So we're going to cover all of the travel expenses in terms of just how we got around, also the flight. Then we're going to go into lodging. Then we'll drop into excursions. And finally, we'll cover meals before tallying everything up. And you definitely want to stick around to the end because you would be surprised on where we had the highest expenses. All right. So without further ado, let's get into it. Please keep in mind that we used any type of loyalty program that we had, and I definitely recommend that you do the same, especially if you're traveling in the high season like we were. Okay. So let's get into travel and transportation. This was pretty cool because it's how we got around, and I was really pleased to book a $379 ticket on Delta nonstop to Iceland. Let's just start there. $379. We had decent seats, and it was a Delta flight. Now, we did not check a bag, nor did we bring on a carry-on. We took a personal sized backpack, which basically honestly is a carry-on, but it does fit underneath. And we packed very strategically. And when I tell you that we were covered for every season that we witnessed out there, we definitely were. So if you're interested in learning how to efficiently pack for Iceland in the summer season, check out the next video. I'm going to show you exactly precisely what we packed and make sure that you're covered. So the shuttle from the airport to the Blue Lagoon, which also took us into Reykjavík, was $63 per person. When we got to the shuttle place, we found a taxi because there's just sitting outside waiting for you, right? The taxi ride was $18 per person for a 10-minute ride. If you compare prices, there are people that said it costed them $150, $175 to get from the airport just using a taxi. So I highly recommend that you book a shuttle for yourself and minimize the use. If you can't, if you're budgeting, right, you definitely want to use things like the metro and whatever economic form of transportation you can. All right. So speaking of economic forms of transportation, we did have to use the metro for a couple days. The metro bus took us to our walking tour that we had, which was like further into Centro. And then it also took us to the, I don't know where else it took us, but it definitely took us there. I think we ended up getting lost on it trying to go somewhere. But anyway, they're very easy to use, number one. They're very clean and very affordable. Now, I would say that you could, $5 for the metro, if you're planning on going back and forth to Centro for a couple times. And the cool thing about that is that you can use your mobile wallet. You can also just, USD, whatever. I don't know if they ask you for a conversion. If so, never click USD conversion. Always click the conversion of the country that you're in and let your bank do it on the other end, because if we ask them to convert it, you're going to pay a higher price. Okay. Anyway, you can just tap your phone and pay for the metro and you're good to go. Keep in mind, if you're using the metro for two people, you can only pay for one ticket on one card. After you pay for that ticket, you have to switch to another mode of payment and then pay for that. I'm not sure why. Maybe it stops fraud, but anyway, thank me later. Okay. So the metro was very inexpensive. And then the rental car. Let's talk about that. So our rental car was $100 per person, not including gas, but it also included insurance. And we did use a loyalty program to, use some miles so that we can get it that low. But keep in mind, I'm going to show y'all how that rental car was less expensive than a tour for one person through Iceland. So if you are traveling with people and y'all can drive, I definitely recommend renting a car. The gas for the rental car was $79 per person, and parking ended up being $42 per person. Last thing, we did take a shuttle back to the airport once we turned in the rental car, and we hopped that right back to the airport, and that ride was $30 one way. Okay, so had to get a drink of water. Totaling all of that together for transportation, it was $716 per person, USD. Now, let's get into lodging. So this is where we stayed. And let me tell you something. If you are okay with staying in some hostels and mixing it with some Airbnbs, I think you'll be just fine. So for 2 nights at the B14 guest house, $105 per person. For 2 nights at the hostel that we stayed in the Vic, it was $197 per person. And for 2 nights in the beautiful Airbnb in Reykjavík, it was $186 per person. All right. So that's $488 per person. Yes, our experiences varied, but if you consider that it was high season, it was still worth it. And I will say, you definitely want to also book early so that you can lock in the rates before they go crazy. Okay. All right. Number 3, excursions and activities. So this is where Iceland really shines because this beauty is free. They're not charging you to go pull up to a waterfall. All you have to do is pay. For parking, y'all, you only have to pay for parking. My bad. So we did have some experiences that we paid for, and I'm going to outline those. Number 1 was the Blue Lagoon. Blue Lagoon was $135 per person, and it also was the premium package, which included the multiple face mask, the skincare, the terry cloth robe, as well as the drinks. Okay. Well, we only got one, but it was nice. You had one drink. So that was the Blue Lagoon. Well worth it. All right. The Sky Lagoon was $131. We had their Saman plan, which was essentially the 7 ritual experience with a changing room that was public, but it wasn't co-ed. It was all women in the changing room. So I highly recommend that. The glacier hike, $114 per person. And the lava show was $48 per person. Total tally for excursions was $428 per person. Like I said, everything else, the black sand beaches, the waterfalls, the geysers, all that good stuff is completely free. So all you're doing is paying for parking. All right. And then segment 4. Now this, the food is where Iceland adds up fast. Okay. And I'm not mad at it because Iceland has some really good food. They've got incredible mushroom soup. If y'all checked out our last video, we told you of a couple of places that you can get some really good food from. And if you haven't checked out that video, definitely take a look at it. But Iceland has just incredible, they have a good way around food, especially pastries and things of that sort. So am I mad that we spent this much? No, actually, the next time I go, I want to eat my way through Iceland. Okay. So let's get into the expenses. Now, we wanted to be as mindful as we could, thinking that we would wake up every morning early and just get out of there. We wanted to cover breakfast. So we did go to the grocery store and just got breakfast for a few days. It was like 3 or 4 days of bagels with almond butter, bananas, and some instant coffee, something like that, right? So that came to $13 per person. Our meals out, though, was $418 per person. not terrible, but it did average $23 per meal. Now, if we're adding everything up, travel, excursions, lodging, and food, that brings us to a total of $2,063 per person during the high summer season. And I have to say, I'm proud of us, especially because it was in the summer. And although it was cold, we didn't freeze our buns off like a lot of other folks that I know that have gone during other seasons. So I hope this breakdown has helped y'all to plan your Icelandic trip on a realistic budget. Hit like, subscribe to the tribe if you like the vibe. Let me know if you have any other questions about Iceland. And yeah, if you haven't checked out my video about our roam through Iceland, you can check that here, and stay tuned for the next video, which will be coming out next week, on how we packed for this beautiful adventure. Until next time, guys, roam free. We out here.